while we were gone on our little break,
Yeah.
the world was struck by tragedy.
Oh, no. Well, I mean, probably in many, many, many different ways, but what specifically was tragic?
Howie the crab died.
Oh, I saw that.
So I found out, I'm watching TV,
Yeah.
minding my own business, and I had seen that she posted, like, Howie's not doing great,
Oh,
bunch of videos, and then I see the announcement, the death announcement of Howie the crab.
I don't even know what the life expectancy of a crab of Howie's species is.
Well, Howie lived to be 8 or 9, and it's supposed to be, like, maybe 2-3 years.
That's pretty
So
impressive,
she
I
was an
will
old
say.
crab.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, I don't really cry. I'm, like, relatively dead inside now.
Same.
I've cried a lot in my life in the last, like, year or so. I just haven't because I'm good. You know what I mean? Like,
I
it
th-
takes a lot.
There's a lot going on in the world and just like personal lives in general. And I think you just sort of unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, you do become desensitized
You
to
do.
it. Yeah.
I cried.
Oh, dude, I definitely got pretty teary-eyed about the whole anglerfish situation. I don't know if you saw that.
Yes. Another tragedy.
Absolutely. But the poetry that
Yes.
people seem to the utter like love and wholesomeness that people put on these humble, meek little creatures.
Yes.
I think that's very wholesome. It's very sad that we see the passing of beloved internet celebrity animals. But it's I don't know, it's cool to see humans come together and celebrate
It
them.
is. And you know what? I'm sitting there, I'm crying. And of course, because I'm sad, I'm watching old Howie videos,
Oh,
all
and
of her little hats and this and that. And Steve looks at me and he's like, "This is what you cry over? Are you serious?" And I'm like, "Yes." And I'm just
100%.
crying and I'm still upset about it.
I mean, it's a thought that crosses my mind a lot with Buffy. I'm
Mhm.
like, "Oh my god, we're gonna outlive you, and one day and this is gonna be devastating."
Yeah.
But I there's a lot of famous internet animals and pets that I follow, and it definitely occurs to me that, one day they're not gonna be here anymore, and that makes me very, very sad.
Yeah.
But they bring a lot of joy to the world for a small window of time.
They do. I was trying to explain to him, like, she wore a lot of hats. She played with little
Yes.
ball pits. She was a good little crab.
And who knew that they could have so much personality and I don't know, different strokes for different folks. I know there's a chick that I follow on TikTok and she has a stick insect. And while that's not my cup of tea, they have
Yeah.
a great relationship, it seems like.
Hey, love is love no matter what. Sometimes you just feel
100%.
these feelings for these little guys.
100%. Anywho.
Hello, everybody. I'm Dina.
And I'm Charlotte.
Welcome to the Grim Curriculum. I'm ready to tell my story.
Yes. I've been on tenterhooks since you baited us with it on the regular show.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'm like locking in for this.
Okay. So I get a text from Steve.
Okay.
And him, to backtrack, him and I have been talking about wanting to go to more estate sales and stuff like that. 'Cause
Okay,
we both
yes.
love antiques. We like weird stuff. And we're like,
Yes.
why not? Maybe we'll find something really cool. So he's like, hey, I found this estate sale. Let's go to it. And I'm
Okay.
like, fantastic.
Hell
Let's
yeah.
go. So the two of us go along with our friend Tyler.
Okay.
And we found this ad, or he found this ad on Kijiji. And this guy's like, I have hundreds of thousands of items. Bring your friends, bring everybody. There's a skating rink nearby. Bring your kids, like, and I'm like, that's a lot, but okay, let's do this.
Yeah.
So we get there and it's about 20 minutes or so out of town.
Okay.
And we show up and it's this big farm property.
Happens a lot with farms. They tend to auction everything off.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we get there and we're like, oh, thanks for meeting us here. And he's like, oh, no, I live here. And we're like, oh, okay, that's fine. And we start talking about just the place and everything. And so it's a house, and I'm going to show you pictures.
Okay, please.
It's a house with a big shop kind of further away, and
All
there's
right.
stuff outside everywhere.
Okay.
And he's like, the show like Canadian Pickers? And we're like, yeah, totally. He's like, this is like this, but hoarders too. And we're like,
Oh.
okay, no problem. So he's like, we'll go through the shop first and then we'll go into the house. I'm like, that sounds great. No
Okay.
problem.
Yeah.
So he gets us these flashlights.
Oh.
And we're like, okay, fine. We have to walk through this field of snow-covered appliances to get to the shop.
Just like fridges, ovens,
Mattresses, like as
Oh.
far as the eye can see. I'm not exaggerating
Oh my
this.
god.
They are everywhere.
Like a scrapyard, but
Yes.
for household things.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So we finally get to the shop and he's like, me and my brother built this, so like none of the wood matches, blah blah blah. He's very proud of it. And we get in, and it's 3 stories tall, this shop.
Okay, let me just pause right there. I don't know that I would trust a building over 2 stories that was built by a guy and his brother.
No,
Unless they were literally, like, construction managers by
mm-mm,
day, house builders by
was
night.
not.
Oh,
This
boy.
is just some guy.
Okay.
So we get in, and it looks like if you took an antique store and a garage sale and multiplied them by 5 and put them into one building.
Oh, wow, just
Like, you
chaos.
can't walk past any of this stuff.
Whoa.
So, the first floor, you're kinda winding in and out, and I'm using the flashlight, I'm trying to see as best as I
Jesus.
can, and this place is huge. Like, probably, like, twice, maybe 3 times the length of my house. Like,
Oh
it
my
is
god.
massive. It is I cannot understate how big this place was.
Jesus.
And there is stuff everywhere.
'Kay.
And I don't see anything good. This is crap.
Just junk.
Just junk everywhere. And so we find the stairs, we go up to the second level, we're looking around a little bit more.
Mhm.
I'm noticing just the most miscellaneous stuff that you can think of. And at one point, I'm walking with Steve, and he points out there's all these old photos of people, different people everywhere.
Oh, see, now we're tipping into, like, Criminal Minds territory,
Yes.
and I'm like, "Oh, geez, are we gonna now flash forward to the BAU, like, looking at
Mhm.
suspects?"
And he made the joke like, "Oh, look, it's all the past victims. Ha ha ha." And we're laughing, and then we're like, "This guy, we don't know where this guy went at this point. He is just
Oh,
gone." He's like,
oh
"I'm gonna let you look
no.
around." So we keep looking around, and I just happen to kind of look on the floor, and I see this bag of yellowed bras, old yellowed bras, like a big garbage bag of them. And I'm like, at this point, I'm starting to feel uneasy.
Yeah, my heart rate is, like, starting to, like, slightly elevate
Yeah.
on your behalf.
But you know what? I'm the only lady there. I don't want to be the one who's like, I don't like it. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? So I'm just
sketchy.
like,
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is
yeah.
neat. This is cool.
Oh,
Whatever.
no.
We go to the 3rd floor, which is like a 5-foot ceiling. So we're hunched over, and you have to climb up these like shoddily made stairs with no railings to get up each floor. And so finally we're like, you know what? Like, we'll come back here. And the guy came back, and Steve's like, she's in a dress. It's cold. So we're going to come back when it's warmer.
Fair
And the
enough.
guy's like, it's the nicest day of the year so far. Like, what are you talking about? And he's like, yeah, but she's getting cold. I'm like, I'm getting cold. Sorry. So we make our way back down, and he's like, okay, now you can go look in the house. And this is where it went downhill.
Oh, oh god. I'm, like, picturing, like, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like, oh, no.
I do have a tie into that.
Oh,
So
god.
we are now in the house, and we get in, and I see 2 ladies are cooking in the kitchen. There's a guy sitting at the table, and I kind
Oh,
of feel a
oh.
little bit more okay seeing other women there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm like,
but
sure, whatever.
also now, like, Resident Evil 7 is coming into
Right? I'm
mind.
really trying to be optimistic about the whole situation. So we're looking through, and it's just shit everywhere.
Oh
Like, it's just
god.
garbage everywhere. And he's like, "Well, let's go look in the basement."
Oh,
So
no.
we go look in the basement, and I see, there's DVDs everywhere. There is so much pornography,
Oh, 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 s
like,
sir?
just in boxes. I'm just seeing porn in the corner, and I'm like, okay. And at one point, I see a loose DVD just sitting there of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I'm like, this is what's gonna happen
This is
to
a
us.
sign. Like,
This is
it's gonna happen.
this is how I die. And so I'm just not having a good time.
Oh, I'd be spiraling out if I were
Yeah,
you at this point.
it gets worse.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
So we're now on the main floor, and we're looking around again. And again, this is what you would picture when I say it's a typical hoarder house. There is
Yes,
just stuff everywhere.
everywhere.
And so he's like, well, let's go look in the bedrooms. And I'm like, okay. So the first bedroom, I just look in, I'm peering in. I'm like, yeah, no, I don't really see anything here. But I do see giant empty liquor bottles everywhere. Like, I'm talking like 6 or 7 of them along the wall. The
Oh.
rooms, people are clearly living in these rooms, but they're full to the brim of, again, crap.
God.
And I see, women's underwear and makeup and things like that. And then I step out of the room. I then go into the other room, and I'm looking around, and our friend Tyler had already gone in, and I see him kind of turn around and look at me.
Oh.
And I look at him, and then I look on the bed. There's
Oh.
a person sleeping on the bed.
Oh, Dina, no, 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 no.
Just out asleep and like covered in the blanket. So I just immediately like back out of this
Oh
room because I
my
had noticed he
god.
knocked on the door.
And also, like, the fella that's leading you through, does he not give a shit that there's people, like, in here?
I will get to that.
Okay.
So we go to the third bedroom where, again, someone is clearly living there. I don't know if there was someone sleeping on the bed, but I think there may have been.
Oh,
And then we
jeez.
get back into the kitchen where there's these two women and they're just like making garlic toast or whatever. And Steve's like, "Oh, that smells good." And I'm just like, "You couldn't pay me to eat at this house."
No.
Now, when I'm in that kitchen, I notice the kitchen seems to be the only room that's organized. So there
Okay.
are labels on all of the cupboards, utensils, cereal, things like that, pots and pans. So I'm like, whoever's living in this house doesn't know where this stuff is. So they must not have been here for very long.
Oh.
Like, this is an organized, quote unquote,
Mhm.
area,
Right.
but they don't talk to us. They don't say anything.
Yeah.
I look and there's like a screen door to outside and I see all these cats.
Oh god.
And I got really sad because they all had frostbitten ears.
Oh, yeah, just like the little feral
Yeah,
guys.
and
Yeah.
immediately I'm like, I see a
I
kitten,
hate
and I'm
that.
just like, "Oh, the cat's for sale," and he's like, "Yeah, $40. I bred like 200 of them on this farm, blah,
Oh
blah,
my
blah." I'm like,
goodness.
"Oh, okay." And so we're walking more, and then we're kind of like getting ready to leave. Like, we keep
Yeah.
saying we're gonna come back. We're not coming back.
No,
I'm like, "Well, yeah,
obviously.
we'll come. We just don't have a lot of time today. We gotta go.
Yeah.
We have other stuff to do, whatever." And then the guy turns around and he goes, "So, how do you guys feel about Alberta becoming the 51st state?"
Oh, well, that I didn't know it was just Alberta. I thought it was Canada that was becoming the 51st state,
Right?
but I mean,
Yeah.
okay.
And we're just like, "Oh, yeah, I don't know." Like, we're trying not to say anything one way or another because
Totally.
we don't wanna piss this guy off.
Absolutely not.
And this
Yeah.
guy's very unassuming, like, he's just, like, some, like, 40, 50-year-old guy, and at one point, we asked him, like, "Hey, like, where did you get all this stuff?" And
Yeah.
he's like, oh, no, he would've been older than 40 because he's like, "I've been doing this for 40 years."
Okay.
And he's talking about how when he was in high school, he would run, like, garage sales out of his locker, and he just, like, had all this
So
stuff.
this isn't so is it his stuff, so he buys things, brings it back to his house for other people to go through then?
I guess so?
Okay, interesting.
And he starts talking about, like, political stuff.
Oh, no.
And he starts going off about how there's a movement happening. He wants to invite us to go to protest with him at the legislature because he's trying to get 30,000 people to show up. And he wants to add us to his mailing lists. And we're just like, "Oh," Steve's like, "Oh, she doesn't have Facebook. Like, she's not on the internet at all. Like, I don't know." And he's like, "Well, I want to invite you guys and, I'll send you my whole thing." And
Oh, that's
so he just
bizarre.
starts talking about like guns and he starts talking about all the guns that he has and all the stuff that he wants to do and like how the country's falling apart and he starts going into like very much that like the end is coming kind of thing.
Love that. Love that so much. That doesn't make anybody uncomfortable at
No,
all.
right? And so we finally managed to get out and we start walking back to the truck and Steve goes around to open the door for me and Tyler's already sitting in the back. I sit down in the truck and I look at Tyler and he's just like he looks shell shocked.
Yeah, I kinda don't blame him even at this point, but I'm
Yeah.
assuming there's some kind of thing that he's seen.
Yeah, and we started talking about all the stuff that we saw, but we didn't wanna say anything until we left. We just wanted
No
to
kidding.
go,
At this point, I'm almost expecting the, like, classic horror movie trope of, like, the car doesn't start.
right? The
Like,
tires are slashed, like,
totally,
for some
yeah.
reason, we can't leave.
Mm.
And so we're getting ready to go, we finally get out of the property, and we're like we all felt so uneasy, and we're talking about all the different things that we saw, we're talking about the random person sleeping in the bed,
Yes.
and I'm just like, he has these women here because he had so much stuff that clearly belonged to women. And it
Yes.
was just so it was really giving, like, commune kind of
Oh,
vibes,
lord.
and so we end up, like, driving away, we're all talking about it, we're just all uneasy, like, we're like, "Do" like, we feel like we just dodged something terrible, that was the
I
feeling
yes,
of all of us, like,
100%.
this could have gone very badly, very easily if one of
Yes.
us had said something wrong, or if the guy was just, like, not in a good
Oh,
mood, I don't know.
lord.
And so then we go to Walmart, and the whole time we're at Walmart, I just felt this feeling of like the world almost didn't seem normal anymore because of what I had just seen. Like everyone's shopping, they're buying their milk and their groceries and stuff, and here I am. I've just
You
dodged
wanna be
certain
like,
death.
Do you know does anyone else know about these people out
Yeah.
there in the country with their hoarder and their bag full of bras and,
Yeah.
like
And so a few days later, we looked the guy up on Facebook
oh,
because
lord.
we wanted to see, like, what's
Yeah,
this
yeah,
guy
yeah,
all about, right?
absolutely.
And he has all these postings of, like, he doesn't discriminate who you are, but if you need a place to live, you can come live with him if you just work a few hours
Oh,
on his
oh,
farm. And
oh.
there's all these random people that are like, "Oh, yeah, free room and board, absolutely." And he's like, I'm a good person just trying to do good things for people and help everybody out," and, like, all this stuff, and I'm just like, this is, like, the most bizarre scenario I could have ever found myself in.
Just based on all the wicked, evil people that we have covered at
Yes,
this point, whether it be cult leaders or serial killers or what have you, I feel like there will come a point in the future when we're talking about this again because something else has happened.
right?
Like, it's giving very much, like, Rock Terrio in his early days, or
Yes.
even Charles Manson or something where it's like, "Yeah, like, free love and, like, come stay with me, and
I'll
I'll make
take care of
yeah,
you.
I'm just looking to look after you folks."
Yeah, and I had just finished listening to a very long podcast series about the Toy Box Killers,
Oh, I
which, for those of you who don't know, they had built, like, a $2,000 dungeon on this, like, obscure property where
yeah.
they kept women, and I'm just like, I have dodged something terrible here. For the record, I'm not going back.
Don't recommend it.
No. And I'm gonna show you pictures. Hold on,
Okay,
I gotta go get
yes,
my phone.
please, please. Like, is this gonna be a future, like, Willie Picton situation where it's like, "Oh, yeah, I went out there once, it was really weird," and then it's like, he's murdered and eaten 35 people.
So, I'm gonna show this to the camera. I don't know how well you guys can see it, but this is Tyler looking through the T-shirts,
Oh, whoa.
and then this show you
Just,
guys
like,
again.
walls of
This is the
stuff.
property.
Oh, there's just shit all over the place. Oh. Oh,
I
no.
am a changed person.
The fact that all 3 of you after felt that way too, because it's one thing if you go somewhere with friends and you're like, "Ooh, I'm getting bad vibes," but no one else seems to be getting
Yes.
bad vibes, and you're like, "Oh, is it just my anxiety or what?" But the fact that all 3 of you were like, ooh, bad vibes."
And the thing is too, I often have to remind myself, like, because of the stuff that we talk about and the stuff that we research,
Yes.
I'm gonna be on high alert. But this was one of those cases where every fiber of my being was
Oh.
telling me, "You need to leave or something terrible is gonna happen."
Well, I'm glad you guys did, and I'm glad nothing did happen.
Me too. Even at one point, Tyler had said, like, "Oh, did anyone else get the feeling that we were just gonna, like, turn around and get shoved into a hole somewhere and have, like, all the stuff in the truck stolen, all of our clothes stolen?" And it coulda happened.
Very much so. I don't know, I think yeah. I certainly would not be going back.
No.
I hope it hasn't, like, ruined your want to go to other estate sales, though.
Well, I have to say, that was not a fucking estate sale. That was
No!
not, "Oh, my dad died, my mom died, my in-laws died, here's their stuff." This was a hoarding situation,
Yeah.
and I don't know what this guy is doing, but an estate sale is not what that was.
Well, I'm glad you dodged whatever bullet we may never find out about either way.
Thank you.
Speaking of, though, actually, you know what? No. I'm gonna do the update first, and then I'll do my other very Criminal Minds-esque story.
Okay.
I have a Menendez brothers update that came as of Thursday, February 27th, so just a few days ago. We're in March now, but not that long ago. So, of course, we talked about Eric and Lyle not that long ago on
Mhm.
the show. Jailed more than 30 years ago, of course, for the brutal murder of their parents in their Beverly Hills home. And as of right now, as we kind of know, they might be like weeks away from a bid for freedom.
Yes.
Everyone was very hopeful that we were hopefully going to see them paroled. However, LA County has a new district attorney,
Mm,
and he is not a fan of the Menendez brothers, unfortunately.
interesting.
So, District Attorney Nathan Hochman or Hawkman, so he's the new guy, he is making it loud and clear that he thinks basically they're making shit up, that the sexual abuse they quote unquote may or may not have endured still isn't grounds for self-defense. He's saying
Mm.
even if it is true, it's not enough. It doesn't justify what they did. However, the brothers and their family members that are in support of them would argue that no one is saying that they didn't do it. Like
Yes,
this
of
whole
course.
time, no
They're
one is
admitting to
saying.
it.
Anywho, so Hackman is arguing that the brothers' new claim does not constitute self defense, but the decision ultimately lies with the judge. But Hackman is urging the Superior Court of LA County to reject their request
Wow.
completely, which would, of course, completely end the great momentum they seem to have because
Mhm.
Hackman's predecessor was very progressive
Mhm.
and actually was really, really gunning for their release and was a big supporter of them. Of course, he is accusing the brothers of what he's calling a continuum of lies during their trials, and he expressed doubt that the evidence presented by their attorneys, including that 1988 letter from their
Mhm.
cousin, he's saying if it truly existed, they would have used it in the first place. So why is it coming
Interesting.
up
Okay.
now? The former district attorney, who was called Gascon or Gascon, he was ready to file resentencing motions and everything for the brothers. But now, because of the new DA, they're saying that this probably won't happen. However, even if the brothers do receive a new sentence, making parole eligible for them, I thought it would be kind of over. They can just like go for
Yeah.
parole and that would be all great. But that's actually not the case at all. So they would still have to go through a hearing with the
Mhm.
parole board, and the parole board could completely deny their requests,
Yeah.
first of all. But even if the parole board says yes, they still then have to go to the governor, and the governor
Mhm.
has to say yes. That being said, the governor, if he chooses, can commute their sentence completely immediately and free them on the spot.
Yeah.
Um, Now, Governor Newsom will wait until this new DA has spoken, basically.
Okay.
So while Governor Newsom has been on the side of the brothers, it would seem, he's still waiting for the DA to speak first. Lyle Menendez said in an interview from prison to TMZ that this is all a very new concept for them, this idea of hope for freedom. Eric told TMZ that because he got married while he was incarcerated, that he's eager to be united with his wife and his daughter. But yeah, it's not looking good for them now because of this new DA.
No, it's definitely not, and the thing that I've really seen is the attention span of the public is very short.
It is.
And even since we've covered them, I'm seeing less and less people talking about them. People have moved on to
Mhm.
kind of the next big thing.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's very unfortunate for them because while they still have the public support, that support is only strong for so long.
Well, the previous DA, Gascon, that was very or is very supportive of the brothers, was able to garner a lot of support because of the social media
Yeah.
presence that they had. But now, again, it's kind of been flipped on a complete 180 with the new DA being like, yeah, I don't know about that.
Mhm.
So we'll know more as of March 20th and 21st because they're having another hearing for them then. So we will see if this resentencing even comes about or if we are going to see them spend the rest of their days in jail. Prison, I should say.
We'll keep you guys posted
Yeah,
on that one.
absolutely.
I have one thing I do want to talk about. It's not even in my notes, but we don't have a lot of information about this, so hopefully share some more on the next episode.
Hmm.
The death of Gene Hackman.
Yes, my God, that seems suspicious AF.
Yeah, so Gene Hackman, his wife, and their dog were discovered dead in their home. Originally, it
Hmm.
was thought to be carbon monoxide poisoning,
Yes.
but upon further investigation, that was not in their system. It looks like his pacemaker had been shut down for days
I saw
beforehand.
this. They had, the last, like, known sort of on mode for the pacemaker was on, like, February 17th or something like that, so
Yes.
quite some time that it hadn't been running. As well, I believe I saw and again, this is all very fresh and new and coming
Mhm.
out, and obviously an investigation is very much underway. Um, Gene Hackman and his wife were found, deceased in separate rooms,
Yes.
and allegedly, I can't remember if it was her or him that had a bunch of pills allegedly
It
scattered
was
around them.
her.
Yeah.
Now, the interesting thing is, I'm pulling this up right now. Hold on. Actor Randy Quaid has been very vocal about this.
Oh, really?
So he tweeted yesterday,
Okay.
Gene Hackman and his wife are murder victims. Some
Oh.
scumbags did it and staged it. Stop talking about the films he is in. This is how they get away with murdering famous people. Fake news starts generating film clips. How is it possible that I know at least 6 people who have died, like Carradine, Hackman, and Ledger?
Wow. Now those are some big, claims to be making,
Yes.
but it does lead or, lend to the suspiciousness of it all.
Yes, it does, and I'm curious to see what comes out of this. Obviously, we're gonna have, with our luck, some news come out the day after this episode airs
It's
or
almost
something like that,
guaranteed, probably.
but, we'll keep you guys posted
Yeah.
with what we know because it does. At first, I was like, "This is a terrible tragedy,"
Mhm.
something, carbon monoxide
Yeah, I
is
mean,
it does kill people,
I
but
I
this
j
is
I
different.
think the man was in his 90s, and I believe his wife, she was quite a bit younger, but she was
Yes.
still in her 60s.
Yes.
The other weird thing I read as well is that they had 3 dogs, 2 were fine, 1 was not.
Yes.
The one that was found deceased in a closet,
Yes.
which is also very freaking weird.
Mhm.
I mean, we could start making assumptions based on the sort of quote unquote news that we know already,
Yeah.
but I think the investigation is going to go on. It's probably going to get twisted and convoluted
Mhm.
because is a celebrity case,
Yep.
especially if other celebrities like Randy Quaid are talking about it as well.
So openly too.
Very openly. But I feel like Randy Quaid has been controversial in the
Yes,
past.
he's a
So
character for sure.
take that with the heaping bucket of salt probably,
Mhm.
but I'm very interested to see where the investigation goes for this because holy cow.
Yes. Speaking of investigations,
Yes.
I have an update.
Okay.
Not on a story that we've covered, but a very famous unsolved case,
Oh.
and that is Jack the Ripper.
Yes, I saw something about this very recently.
So, I am not getting excited about this.
Okay, I'm not either because I feel like every couple of years
Yes.
someone comes out, they've cracked the case, they
Mhm.
know who it is, it's someone new that you've never heard of before. So, yeah, I'm also kind of pumping the brakes on my excitement here.
But it's looking good.
Okay, let's hear it.
So, English historian and author Russell Edwards says that DNA found on a shawl recovered from the scene of one of the killer's slayings was tested, revealing that the butcher who terrorized Victorian London's East End in the late 1800s was a 23-year-old Polish immigrant named Aaron Kosminski, who died in a mental institution in 1919.
23 years old. That
Yes,
seems very young, although probably not in Victorian type
true.
vibes.
So he says, when we matched the DNA from the blood on the shawl with a direct female descendant of the victim, it was the singular, most amazing moment of my life at the time.
I bet.
We tested semen that was left on the shawl. When we matched that, I was dumbfounded that we had actually discovered who Jack the Ripper truly was.
Now, forgive me for making a crude assumption here. The ladies that were attacked by Jack the Ripper were known to be sex workers.
Yes.
So, how do we know that this is Jack's semen and not another client?
Yes. And that is very, very,
Right?
yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's where my head went to.
Yeah, because who's to say 23-year-old Polish immigrant didn't purchase the services of a
Yes.
lady of the night?
The shawl in particular was found at the scene of the murder of Catherine Eddowes.
Mhm.
And when Edwards had heard about this, he purchased the shawl. This was back in 2007.
Okay.
He says, it was a voyage of discovery with many twists and turns. The adventure was thrilling from beginning to end, and I was lucky to experience it. Relatives of the 5 known victims had pushed Scotland Yard to take a fresh look at the 137-year-old cold case.
I would say this is probably the most famous or infamous true crime case of all time.
Everyone has heard of Jack the Ripper.
Absolutely. And even if you maybe are too young to know the full story or the full case, or maybe you're not even familiar with the case at all, if you hear the term Jack the
Yeah,
Ripper,
you know who that
you
is.
know who that is. You know that that's not a very nice thing to be compared to, right?
Yes. Edwards also said, we have got the proof. Now we need this inquest to legally name the killer. it would mean a lot to me, to my family, and to a lot of people to finally have this crime solved. So what they're doing right now is they've sent the DNA to a third party
Okay.
and it's being further investigated.
Right on.
Now, as for Kosminski, he moved to England as a child and worked as a barber in Whitechapel.
Ah.
He started showing symptoms of mental illness in 1885, and he had been committed to a number of insane asylums. Before his death at the age of 53, he reported having auditory hallucinations. He feared other people, refused to eat, and also would not bathe. Here's where it gets complicated.
Yeah.
Edwards has a bit of a reputation.
Ah.
Several online skeptics have questioned him because back in 2022, he faked the finding of the top of a child's skull, and that child was supposed to be Keith Bennett, who was
Oh.
murdered by Ian Brady and Myra
Yes.
Hindley. His body has never been found, and he
Yes.
said that he had found it, and he did not.
Oh, see, we've talked about this before.
Mhm.
More so with like ufologists and
Yes.
cryptid zoologists and things like that is when you are investigating or reporting upon
Mhm.
something that has so much controversy or
Yes.
so much skepticism around it, you must do everything above board because the second you give people the
Mhm.
chance to not believe you, they will. And fuck you, my guy.
Yep.
Why would you lie about something like that? The Myra Hindley and Ian Brady case is one of the worst fucking true crime cases you'll ever come across.
Absolutely.
One of the worst cases ever involving kids. We'll cover it at some point, but boy, howdy, it's not a nice one.
Mhm.
And to lie about something like that, oh man,
Credibility goes out the window, and
straight
this
in the
is one
trash.
where, again, it's one of those things where it almost seems too good to be true that this would be solved, because
Yeah.
many people believe we'll never know who Jack the Ripper is. There's a lot of people who ripperologists, as they call themselves,
Indeed.
who have that one suspect where they're like, this is absolutely who it was, no doubt. This is a suspect who has been on the top of that list for a very long time, so
Okay.
it's not just some random guy. He has
Right.
been on the list for a while.
And now they've sort of tied them together.
Yes,
Okay, I mean,
exactly.
I will say that makes me feel slightly better about the
Yeah.
situation, but based on what you've just said and what we kind of know so far, I'm still wondering if 23-year-old Polish immigrant
Mhm.
is not just a client of a sex worker,
Yes.
right?
And he was only linked to that one shawl, he was not linked to all of the
Uh,
crimes, and that's where, again, it does get complicated, because if his DNA had been found on all of these women, okay,
oh,
hey, that's
absolutely,
something.
yeah.
But just on one of them, you're absolutely right, where was this a murderer or was this simply a client of this lady?
Well, or does it bring into question, was this particular lady murdered by the same as the others then?
Yes, because there were many copycats.
Exactly. So it's interesting information. It adds to the
Mhm.
case. But as to any questions it actually answers, I don't know yet.
Yeah, because I had someone come up to me recently, and I'm sure you know this, where you're kind of the true crime person of the
Yeah,
group,
very
right? So
much so.
anytime there's something new, people are gonna come to you.
Yeah.
And she ran up to me and she said, "Did you hear they found out who Jack the Ripper was?" And immediately I was like, "I'm not buying it yet. I'm not
Yeah.
getting excited. I'm not really going to form an opinion until we get this final decision from this third party, which I'm hoping is soon." But again, it links Aaron to the crime, but does it link him to all of the crimes?
Exactly. Well, I'm interested to see where it
Me
goes.
too.
I actually do have a gruesome true crime case to follow up with. I keep mentioning Criminal Minds today. This also truly reads like an episode of Criminal Minds. As I was reading the articles for this one, the word fratricide got thrown around a lot.
Mhm.
And first things first, for a sec, it kind of made me disappointed in the human race
Mhm.
because we are so violent and so murderous that we require different specific words
Yep.
for the types of murder.
Yeah.
Fratricide, which means brother killing, patricide, father killing, etc., etc.,
Mhm.
etc. Um, but yeah, just to warn you guys, this is a gruesome one. It's particularly brutal and trigger warning for all you animal lovers out there. Unfortunately, there is a particularly nasty animal death in
Oh,
this one, so
no.
just brace. Okay, that all being said, Princeton authorities have charged 31-year-old Matthew Hurtgen with murder and other offenses in the grisly killing of his 26-year-old brother, Joseph Hurtgen. So, a little bit of background on these guys because it seems to have come as a complete shock from the people that know them. They apparently came from what appeared to be a quote unquote perfect all American family. Matthew and Joseph were born into a pretty privileged life built by their parents. They also have an older brother called David Jr. Their father, David Sr., he works for a high tech Princeton firm, and he's the president and chief financial officer. So they're well off kids.
Okay.
Both brothers were high school soccer stars, which the articles also very heavily lean into. The titles of the articles I read were like uh, preppy Princeton soccer star, and it's like, okay, well, the man was 31. Like, like
It's giving Menendez brothers,
very
honestly.
much,
Yeah.
very similar. So both brothers were high school soccer stars. They went on to play soccer in college. Matthew went to the Wesleyan University, which is apparently quite elite, and Joseph went to the University of Michigan. After graduating from Michigan's business school, Joseph worked as an analyst at a New Jersey-based asset management firm and was being quite successful. His brother, on the other hand, got arrested for drunk driving.
Mm.
So he lost his license for a few months, but apart from that, he doesn't have any prior criminal history, hasn't had any run-ins with the law that we know
Mhm.
of. As just a little bit more background, their high school soccer coach said that they were a very good family, that they were good people. Now, keeping all that in mind, Matthew, who was 31, ripped out his brother Joseph's eyeball after beating him with a golf club and slashing him to death with a knife.
Holy shit.
Here's where you can skip ahead for a few seconds if you're the animal lovers. It somehow gets worse because then Matthew set the family cat on fire.
Oh my god.
He then called the cops to report a body and a fire in their approximately $2 million apartment. Officers on the scene discovered Joseph's bloody corpse and the poor cat and quickly surmised what had probably happened. Joseph was announced dead at the scene. Cause and manner of death are officially pending the results of an autopsy, but one police source told newspapers that it was gruesome, it was way overboard. This is where it gets even worse.
Oh my god.
Officers also found on the scene a bloody knife, fork, and plate near Joseph's body. They could not find the eye, which led them to believe that Matthew had eaten his brother's eye after ripping it out.
Oh my god. I keep saying oh my god, but that is how I feel right now.
100%. So, again, this seems completely out of the blue. They were privileged boys, did really well in high school, did really well in college. Bit of a bumpy ride after, but sometimes we get in trouble in our 20s.
Yeah.
Shit happens. So, this all seems very like out of nowhere. But apparently, several months ago, Matthew posted a pretty emo poem on Facebook,
Never a good sign.
which at the time was like, whatever, but in hindsight, now is very chilling.
Mhm.
I'm not going to read you the whole thing because it's very long.
Okay.
But just so you get the gist, I've got a couple of snippets for you. Some of it goes, "What have you created? Why have you created it? Who are you trying to strangle? What god are you serving? I can see the knife sharpening. I can hear the arrows whizzing. I can feel my heart beating, but can he? Someone sits alone in that room where the walls shake. He still has a pulse. Blood still flows through his veins, but something is wrapped around him, squeezing him, choking him, suffocating him." That's 2 verses out of about 12.
Oh my god.
It goes on for some time. So the old soccer coach again, who people seem to be going to quite a lot for his opinion, said that Matthew had lots of friends. He worked hard in school. He was a good soccer player when he was on the team. It seems like sometime after college was when it kind of all went downhill mentally for
Mhm.
him. Um, in his mugshot, he gazed at the camera with what was called deadened eyes and a 1,000-yard stare. This is Matthew.
Oh my god.
So he's looking a little out of it. Um, This is his brother Joseph, who unfortunately is the victim in this case.
Oh,
Joseph just looks like a sweet,
he's like
sweet
a happy
boy.
guy.
So February 24th, 2025, they charged Matthew with first-degree murder, various third and fourth-degree offenses related to possession of a knife and possession of a golf club. Now, possession of a golf club. I don't know if they're
Didn't know that
gonna,
was a thing,
yeah, I
but
don't know if
okay.
they're gonna make that one stick
Yeah.
because, and then he was charged with one count of third degree animal cruelty in the connection with the death of his brother. As of February 28th, 2025, Matthew was handcuffed and wearing a vest as he appeared for court on video link from Mercer County Jail. And after the hearing ended, he stood up, waved to his attorney, and then walked back to his jail cell. At the time, a motive for his alleged attack completely unknown. We have no idea why he did this to
What?
his
And this
brother.
just happened.
It just happened.
Wow.
So, just if they do convict him, he will be looking at life in prison because in New Jersey, the first degree crime of murder carries a sentence of 30 years to life in state prison and a fine of up to $200,000. So, yeah, he's facing life if convicted, which
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
plus any additional fines and time for the third and fourth degree charges as well, the
Yeah.
animal cruelty, the possession of a knife and a golf club, and all that good stuff. So, yeah, very fresh, but very, very gruesome. So, I expect we'll be
Wow.
hearing more pretty damn soon. Yeah, Matthew Hurtgen out of Princeton.
That is a wild one. Keep me posted
I
with that.
will.
I wanna know what goes on with him.
Yeah, me too.
Ugh,
I
I
just
don't
want to
like
know
it.
why.
Yeah, I mean, if he's out there eating eyeballs, something went wrong.
Someone horrifically wrong.
Yeah. Alright, well,
I mean, I'm assuming we're in strange and unusual death territory.
that's right, it is time for our strange and unusual death.
All
Alright,
right.
I'm taking us back to 1875
Oh,
today.
good. We love an old timey crimey.
We don't know this guy's name,
Okay.
but he was a factory worker. He was at work while another worker that was there, who was a lady,
Oh,
was minding her own business. She's working, doing her thing, when
yeah.
suddenly a mouse dashed across her work table.
Oh no.
She starts screaming.
Yeah.
So this guy hears her screams, runs over to go help, and his reaction was to grab the mouse.
Oh, just straight up with
Yeah,
his
just
bare
doink.
hands.
So the mouse ran up his sleeve and out again through his open neck shirt, which
Okay.
surprised him. So he gasped.
Oh no.
The mouse then ran into his mouth and he swallowed it. This is a report from the newspapers back in
Oh
1875.
Lord.
That a mouse can exist for a considerable time without much air has long been a popular belief, and was unfortunately proved to be a fact in the present instance, for the mouse began to tear and bite inside the man's
Yeah,
throat and chest, and the result was the unfortunate fellow's death after a little time in horrible agony.
I bet. In a slightly different version of events of
Mhm.
this story, I do recall my mom, who was an army nurse,
Mhm.
still is a nurse, but a civilian one. But she did tell a story, and I don't know what capacity she was involved in this story, or if it was a she heard from a friend who heard from a friend. But when she was an army nurse, they had a fella in the emergency room that had put a hamster in a sock and put it up his butt, and the hamster had chewed through the sock.
Don't do that.
Yeah. And then, I mean, there is the old form of torture where they would put
Yes.
a rat in like a hot pot,
Mhm.
and then they would heat the pot until the rat chewed through you to get
Yeah.
away from the heat. So just stay away from the rodents. But this poor fella, he wasn't expecting it to hop in his
He was just trying
mouth.
to help.
Oh my god.
Bet you that lady's still scared of mice after that.
Well, wouldn't you be though? But talk about it, a David and Goliath sort of situation. This tiny mouse
Yeah.
managed to murder a human being that's what? Over 1,000 times bigger, heavier.
Yep.
So hey, don't discount the little guy.
Nope.
Oh,
And rest in peace of that guy. And I'm
yeah.
assuming possibly also the mouse.
I'm assuming So rest in peace, monstrous
Everyone.
mouse.
All right, that
Uh,
brings us to the end of our episode
yes.
today. Thank you all so much for listening. If you're watching on Patreon, we've got some uranium glass set up behind us.
Yeah.
Next steps are to put up some wallpaper up
Mhm.
here, get this guy lit up. It's going to look good. I posted pictures of the lit up cabinet on all the socials, so
Dude,
go check
it
it
looks
out.
super sick, and honestly, the way it looks on camera when it's lit
Mhm.
up, super cool. Looks even cooler in real life. But
It
yeah, we
does.
need some dark wallpaper or something to really make the uranium glass stand out, so I'm stoked for that.
It wasn't good because when I was unpacking it, I very carefully packed
Of
everything,
course.
obviously, and one of my prized possessions of uranium glass is the kerosene lamp back here.
Yes.
Now, the kerosene is still in the lamp,
Yes.
and a lot of it leaked out. So I'm
Oh,
unpackaging it, and it's just like
oily
almost
everywhere.
100-year-old kerosene everywhere, and I'm like, "This is not good." But, I'm very excited to get that all, looking good so you
Yeah,
guys can see it because I think it's a
absolutely.
nice touch.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Anyway, so stay tuned for all the new updates that are happening.
Yeah, check us out on Patreon,
Yeah.
support the show. You can do it for free. Other ways to support, obviously, just listen to the episodes, rate us
Mhm.
5 stars where you can, watch us on YouTube. All that good stuff really, really helps,
Yeah,
and we
share us with
appreciate
your
it.
friends, share us with your family.
Yeah,
We're always in the market for new people that love the same creepy shit we do, so
yeah.
join the beautiful club.
Thank you all so much for listening. This has been the Grim Curriculum.
Extra
Extra credit.
credit. Bye.
Bye.